as such, the title, Best of Both Worlds, Apache Pulsar and Apache Kafka. We have heard too a lot about, maybe more about Kafka, but Pulsar is also coming up on the horizon. I hope everybody has heard of it. How many of you actually quickly ask, show of hands, how many of you already, are already working with Pulsar, maybe? No one, no problem. How many of you are working with Kafka? Oh yeah,
Yes.
there are always many. That's what we guess, but no problem. But this is like, we're trying to have this session more like, let's work together, best of both worlds. That's the goal of our talk. So, okay, and before we start too, if you are interested in this slide deck, while we're presenting, please visit, these two QR codes. And also, actually, the left one is the GitHub. We have some source code too that Cole will be sharing towards the, end part of the talk, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Indeed, yep.
All right. Let's see. Good.
Welcome.
Okay.
So, okay.
Cool. Okay.
So,
oh, sure.
yeah, let's,
Sure. Okay.
next, first, maybe it's a good thing. Like, we want to know, like, hey, what technology should I use? Should I use Pulsar or should I use Kafka? What do you think, Mary?
That's right. It's a very interesting question. There are so many, like, I've heard of debates after having worked with Pulsar for a year or so. And so how about this? Let's ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, I'm going
how
to
about
do
that?
it?
Yeah, let's see
is
what.
it allowed? Yeah. No?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do
that.
So we're going back. So I'm using this website, poe.com. It's really nice. I just saw it yesterday, so it's very new. ChatGPT 4 we can ask. What should we do? 4 or 3?
Let's try 4.
Yeah?
What
Okay.
it says, yeah. We did it last time in ChatGPT, so.
Yeah, which is better? Apache
better.
Pulsar or Apache Kafka? Interesting. Comparing. Is not a straightforward answer, like expected.
Yeah.
So it's still thinking. It doesn't know, like, hey, you can use both, but which one you choose, it doesn't know yet. It doesn't want to make an answer, so it's saying it depends. So we hope to make a call for you, like you can decide which one to use in which circumstance. And it's still thinking, and a lot of things we also say it like. But by the way, there's also something like from Google, like the world is more than ChatGPT 4. Everyone is talking, ChatGPT, 5 is coming, but there's also something else like Claude, Sage, how do you say it, Sarah?
Yeah, that's right.
But let's just continue.
That's right. Okay, we'll continue.
So, hi, my name is Turk. I'm a developer at Blue4IT, a small consultancy company, and we're using Kafka. So I'm a developer, so it's not product sale or something. So I just show you what I think. And I'm a conference speaker. I talk about Kafka, and a little bit now with Mary about Pulsar. And I love green coding. So maybe next time green coding. And I'm also a writer for articles and that kind of things. So follow me, please, on Twitter or LinkedIn. That would be great.
Yep.
So, Mary, who are you?
Okay, so I'm a developer advocate at DataStax, the company that's actually probably more well-known with is Apache Cassandra. And I also am the president of the Chicago Java Users Group, so I'm also involved with the community too. And so I'm a streaming developer advocate at DataStax by day, and by night I'm running user group. And so I in fact have some of my Chicago JUG board member staff here too, so thank you for coming. And so I work with a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm also Java champion, so really a lot of the Java and open source technology. And then most recently is with event streaming. I joined DataStax a year ago. And then I also work a bit at IBM with reactive technology too.
Don't forget you're a JUG leader also.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I am. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes you get on stage, you forget what you're going to say.
You do so much.
But thank you. So thanks for coming.
So the most important question is, what's in it for me? What's in it for you? That's the most important question. Why are you joining this session? That's the most important for you, I guess. So we are going to choose which streaming frameworks suits your case. We are going to create a basic Pulsar and Kafka app based on Spring Boot, and how to stream like a pro. now back to you, Mary.
Yeah, me? Okay. Okay. What is the next?
Oh yeah, there's not YouTube streaming. It's just like with
Okay.
functions.
Oh, yeah, how to
streams.
do like a pro? Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then I'll just bring up like in Pulsar there's Pulsar functions, and then Kafka has Kafka stream. So they kind of has a similar kind of goals of using these type of functionality. So we're going to touch on that too. So that's absolutely important for doing that. And here's our agenda then. Yeah, I know we kind of go backwards. But so today we want to welcome you, into a streaming world, some introductions, which we just did. And then we'll talk about streaming architectures, and then why should you consider both architectures. And then we'll do some demo, and then we'll also show to my company we have the managed cloud in which we're hosting Pulsar, which kind of makes it very easy to use. So I'll show a little bit of that, and also show you some Pulsar functions thing, and then also Kafka streaming too, API, and then a demo, and also to show you how you can bridge, right, the two, Apache Pulsar and Apache Kafka together. So that's our agenda. So,
Yes.
yeah.
So welcome into a streaming world. The possibilities are endless. So if I compare like Kafka with Pulsar, like that building there is, by the way, in Paris. The building you can see like more like Kafka. It's like a big building and it's really great. Everyone is using it. And there's also something new now. It's called Pulsar, and it's very modern. You really love it. Some don't like it. So it's more like a comparison. Pulsar a little bit more modern, and Kafka is like what everyone uses for a reason, of course. So
Yeah, so now then question is, do we want Kafka or do we want Pulsar? So this is our real Kafka and real Pulsar in here. So yeah.
So last time when we asked someone, know this guy, and there actually was one girl like, hey, I know this, I'm reading it, and that was pretty nice.
That's right.
It's a novelist, and
yeah.
in the past he was writing a lot.
Yeah, based in today's Czech Republic. So that's where he was from, Kafka, the writer.
Yeah, and we have Pulsar.
Pulsar, which is a star, the rising star. So yeah.
Nice,
right.
nice comparison.
Exactly. So yeah.
So the users of Apache Pulsar, maybe you can begin. We'll answer
sure.
it.
So for Pulsar, as such, there are a number of users now, but it's, of course, the community too is still growing. It's as Cole kind of mentioned with that picture, just contrasting. Pulsar isn't all new, but it started back in 2013 or so, and it was started at Yahoo. And so right now too, as you can see, users too include Yahoo. They are still a big user of Pulsar. And then there's also, for example, companies like Splunk or Comcast, Nutanix, and Verizon and Micro Focus. And these are just among a number of companies too that are using. And one thing about Pulsar is that it's very cloud native. It is built, kind of in its DNA, so to speak. So in that sense, it's kind of more modern in that case. So you can talk a bit about Kafka.
Yeah, sure. Right? And by the way, there's also some QR codes. I was trying to show it, but so you can also see like which cases are there and that kind of things. We have also Kafka. That's founded within LinkedIn. Yeah. And we are also using it. I'm working now currently at the Rabobank. And it's also a case, if you click on that QR code or make a photo of it, you can also see who is using it. And it's pretty interesting why they're using it. And Cisco, Spotify, Adidas. So a lot of companies are using both. So that's really nice to see, to make a comparison if you want.
That's right. Okay, so now just a bit like, let's say hi to Apache Pulsar, that being like newer for everybody. So just a quick introduction. Here are just a couple pictures kind of highlighting, rather than writing down all the words like Cole said, don't give all the words. So we're looking for some pictures, trying to represent. So as you can see, it is event streaming platform. And also too, this globe thing actually took me a while. I want to highlight is the geo-replication feature. So it's essentially too about data centers that are residing in different parts of the world, different cluster, and they can, the way it's set up too is very efficient way of doing replications between the different data centers in the world. And then also you can do message selection. Everything is already built into the infrastructure to help you with that feature. So it's a very important feature and kind of quite an outstanding feature too, I guess. So, okay, and then there's also here too on the left side and over I have like Bookkeeper. So Bookkeeper is Apache Bookkeeper I'm referring to, And it segments off all of these distributed log messages. So it's very efficient, very highly scalable, really ready for the cloud environment. So it manages, essentially, it separates out, Pulsar only worries about the compute side, and so the log storage side is being handled by Apache Bookkeeper. And then over here, too, I'm using this set of, looks like apartment buildings, different color. Yep. Essentially, it's a multi-tenancy feature that Pulsar has. It's also like a unique feature it has, meaning that it already like automatically, if you kind of take a look at this apartment building, it's like, okay, the apartment building, you have each unit in your building. Each of them are independently operated. So likewise, too, like for Pulsar, you basically, too, they're kind of designed so then you define your tenants. Tenants, each of them are independently managed. So it has its own authorization, authentication, for example, and managing some of the configuration is kind of easier for manageability, like operating as a unit too, using this multi-tenancy approach. So that's kind of in a nutshell to let you know. And then another thing I was also wanting to point out there is kind of thinking of another feature is called tiered storage offload, which means that if messages are cold, then instead of staying in warm storage, in the cloud storage, in which you'll be charged. Every minute you're using things in the cloud, you get charged. So what we'll do, Pulsar knows, is that it moves all of these cold messages, well, actually I should say messages that are cold and move it offloaded to like cheaper storage, such as like S3 or maybe HDFS, which is like the Hadoop. Yeah, those will be not consuming as much resources and money too from your side. So a lot of these things too is that Pulsar is already built in with a lot of infrastructural type of things that it takes care of it for you. So then as the developer, you can focus more on working on your business logic or your application kind of needs too.
Yes.
So, yep.
Nice.
Yeah, so, okay.
I really love it, like the developer experience is very...
Yeah, that's nice, yeah. So then, okay, just very quick summary, right? It's a fast, blazing performance. You can have millions of messages per second, and then also the scalability too is also very good. Horizontal scalability, meaning you can add a server, add a node into it. All of these things too, in fact, there's a feature that it rebalances all of your topics too. Like you have topics that are partitioned or brokers that are partitioned into different nodes and all of these things. And as you know, maybe if we use Kafka, that doesn't have that feature of helping you. You have to manually rebalance all of your all of your topics and partitions, and brokers. But for Pulsar, it knows it, so then it automatically rebalances it for you. So that's another feature. And essentially, too, consolidation, message replay, all of these, you can use that. And there's a reader interface that you can use it to kind of navigate through your log messages. Geo-replication I talk about. Basically, is poised, as a very ready to be for the future like event streaming platform in the cloud native time. So, okay, and then this is just a couple of books too in here, just wanting to highlight in here. And actually, David is from Stream Native, right? And he wrote the book, and also a couple kind of very active users too that have, these are the books that you can kind of refer to. So.
If you want to read something, you just watch it on the internet and buy it.
Yeah.
So,
so now we talk about Kafka.
I can talk about Kafka.
Yeah, that's right.
What I really love, I also working with Kafka, so I really try to preach what I'm using. So yeah, this is a quick start. So if you want to have a quick start for running Apache Kafka, the server, this is the link. And yeah, why should you use Kafka, for example? Yeah, my reason is the community is really strong. There are a lot of examples, and I really love the community. Like there are already some people here from Kafka or for Confluent, yeah, the community is really strong. So if you have a problem, you can just ask or on the internet, and there's an example. You can even ask ChatGPT now, but
yeah.
And yeah, there are a lot of tutorials, what I said, examples, there are books. And yeah, there are no bad days. I really love what I'm doing. I'm using the Streams API, and I'll show you more later on. I will do some coding. Yeah, I'm a developer. I love to code. So yeah, I'm really enthusiastic about Kafka. And also, yeah, Pulsar now. Yeah, the simplicity. Yeah, Kafka is a really simple architecture, I think. I will show you. It's a major ecosystem The performance is really good. Yeah, mostly you have like, yeah, Pulsar is quicker and yeah, or it's Kafka, or that's maybe nice to check later on. But yeah, replayability, fault tolerance, that kind of things, and yeah, Kafka is yeah, used a lot nowadays. There are also a lot of books. So there are a lot of books on the Apache Kafka website. So if you want to read about Kafka, why you should use streams, for example, why you should love it, I think. Yeah, there are a lot of it, and yeah. But how does it work?
Yeah, sure.
You can say something.
Yeah, we can quickly kind of show you some architecture first, right? So as you can see over here in the diagram, looks like a lot of things, but basically, as you can see, it is actually Pulsar, and so is Kafka too. It makes use of, it has a pops up type of architectural design or usage, right? And so like underneath to the hood, right, basically this is basic architecture. You have producers and consumers, which is the code that you would need to be writing, right? Clients interacting with the broker. So Pulsar has the broker, pops up broker. It is essentially stateless JVM process running. And it's actually very important because it manages all of the messages, and basically, you know, your messages too have retries, for example, like deduplication, all of these things, and basically brokers kind of handles all of this. And also too, it owns the topics too. So topic is what you label your messages as, right? So then producer can, you know, publish to that topic, and then consumers that are interested in the topics will subscribe to it. Pops up kind of way of doing things. And as such too, I mentioned too, broker Pulsar too separates out the compute and the storage. So the storage side is being handled by Apache Zookeeper, another Apache project that's pretty robust, you know, as such. Oh, I'm sorry, I kind of got it mixed up. I meant to say bookies and bookkeeper, I'm sorry. Yeah, so tell me next time. Sometimes I look at too many things and forgot, but okay, so bookies, and it's basically the name you name each unit of the bookkeeper, you know, running its instances. So that one is the bookies. As such, bookkeeper, it keeps track of all of the log messages. And so then you don't need to worry about it. It's got a very fast read and write kind of mechanism. Also, it's essentially like, you know, you're doing accounting, they're journaling, ledger, all of these things, and that's what it supports. And then I mentioned about Zookeeper. Zookeeper is there to kind of keep the peace, so to speak, right? But it actually manages the whole, you know, your Pulsar cluster, manages all of these, the metadata, for example, things like that. And then as such too, as you can see over here, or actually on the side too, as you can see, right? These are like enterprise services that you can also have Pulsar works with. These are just small little example, but I'll show you another diagram with all of the supports it has for connectors too. But those are kind of some example, like Cassandra, for example, for database, or Elasticsearch. Those are kind of very popular enterprise services that we found that customers use. And then also, then you can offload, tiered offload to object storage offline to S3, or not offline, just offload it to cheaper storage, GCS, for example. And then also, too, as you can, yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. And then as such, too, as you can see, producers and consumers we support, you can have actually JMS is supported, and Kafka is supported as well, right? And Python and Go and Java, and even .NET, C++, or C++ client or C# client too. But those are just a bit of a handful of example, because there are community contributions such as Scala is also supported too as clients. So that's just a quick kind of overview of this architecture in here for Pulsar. So your turn to talk about.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
That's my turn.
Okay.
Nice. The architect of Kafka.
Okay.
Yeah, what I said. Yeah, you have a set of producers, you have a set of consumers, and they listening to a broker. Within a broker, you also have topics and that kind of things, and you have Zookeeper, and Zookeeper checks if the topics are there and that kind of things. It checks the services, is it running and that kind of things. But nowadays you don't need to have Zookeeper anymore. You have also KRAF now, and that makes it's quicker and easier. You don't need a separate Zookeeper process. So you can also use KRAF. It's experimental still, but it makes the Kafka server faster. Yeah, you have a schema registry, so you want to have maybe, I'm working at a bank, so you have, for example, if you send a message, you have a key, like an account, and you have something like a payment. So the payment is the value then, and yeah, it needs to register somewhere, and that's within the schema registry. And yeah, it works with petitions, so the topic can be on different petitions, and a petition 1, a petition 2 or 3. And yeah, it also have an offset, so every square has its own offset. So you can say like, yeah, if you're crashing, then you know like you're on offset 3, so then you know that you need to begin from here, for example. From here. So yeah, that's in a nutshell how I see the Kafka architecture. It don't need to be very difficult, I think, but yeah, if you're talking about petitioning, Elena had a really great talk. Thank you for that. So yeah, the petition is something different, I think, as a subject. So yeah. Danica, this is from the Confluent developers website. I really love it. They have a lot of examples about Kafka and that kind of things. And yeah, Kafka you can use, for example, the Streams API. You can have a producer and a consumer. You can also do it in Pulsar, the consumer producer, if you want. And yeah, there's a lot of possibilities with Kafka, even KSQLDB. Yeah, so you can just select kind of SQL. Yeah, a Kafka Connect you have, like connecting another Oracle database, and you want to connect it with an Elasticsearch database. You can, like streaming way, you can yeah, connect also systems. But why should you consider both architectures, Mary?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so, well, for now, before we talk about that, just a quick thing to show it to you, like the differences in terms of higher level kind of architecture of Kafka and Pulsar, right? Yeah. So on the left side is Kafka. As you can see, it is more of a partition-centric type of architecture in here. You can have multiple brokers, right? And that's what the code was just talking about, the partitions and everything. But it doesn't separate out the compute and the log messages side. So Kafka itself also manages all of these huge volumes of log messages. So let's take a look over at Pulsar side. We have Bookkeeper. And as such too, yeah, somebody actually asked the question, is it going to increase your performance because you bring in another process to manage all the log messages? But actually, it doesn't, because as such too, as you know, distributed messaging involves many messages, right? We're talking about millions of messages per second. So lots of log messages. So it's always great you delegate it to somebody else to do the job, which is Bookkeeper in this case. And Bookkeeper itself has a mechanism of segmenting off all of the log messages. It has its own mechanism, which is very efficient too. You can do quick search and all of these retrieval, for example. So yeah, so that's kind of like their differences. So yeah, so why should we consider both architecture? Yeah. I think because they both actually is your own particular kind of use cases that you may want to choose one over the two, or you already have systems that are running in Kafka. You don't want to do a lot of rewrite, for example, then how can we bring the two together, right? Yeah. I think it's really best of both worlds rather than saying one is better than the other, but you use the right tool for your right job. So we're also then talking about how you can bring the two together. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
We're acting as a community here, right? We're not battling here, we're working together, and that's really nice. We have Pulsar and we have Kafka, and then both are great, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
So, functions.
Okay, so this is just a quick thing to kind of bring this up, right? Every time we talk about this type of event streaming mechanism, tooling, what is it good for? So basically, we're talking about building data pipeline, right? It's just illustrated in here. You think of the data like water from a source, like turn on the faucet, water flows through some pipes, and then it gets through somewhere, right? If you think about water, it goes through some purification or doing whatever. But then in this case, it's Pulsar that is actually modifying the data as such, right? So that's the process we're interested in looking at, and that's actually being done by Pulsar. You can use Pulsar function to do that too. And then after you transform all of your messages, then it goes out and gets deposited to a sink, and that's how it works, right? Kind of like a source and a sink, and in between is where you transform all of your messages. So yeah, or filter it out. So here too, just another diagram quickly show you. Basically, Pulsar functions is a serverless type of computing framework. So you kind of write them, and in kind of very easy, it's lightweight. You just need to, for example, Pulsar function, you just need to implement, I think, the Pulsar function interface, and then you can then write the code as is. And it's essentially, it's like Amazon AWS Lambda. It's very in that spirit, right? So very lightweight. So once you write it, you can write it in, currently it's Java, Python or Go, then you can deploy it. And once deployed, then you let the cloud infrastructure, the Pulsar infrastructure service to take care of scaling for you. So really, it's pretty efficient. So as you can see too, you basically have different topics that can be going through, piping through like the Pulsar function, and then it output on the other side. It can basically write it to a sink, or write it to another topic, so to speak. And that topic can turn into another source for another pipeline too. So you can hook up different pipelines together, and that's the idea.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then here too, just to show you in terms of Pulsar too, also DataStax to our implementation of the Pulsar, we basically are supporting all of these different connectors and clients too. As you can see, the list is growing. So also, as you can see over there, messaging and streaming workflow type of connectors, we have Kafka there as well. So that's what we're going to be showing today. Yeah, that's right.
So some examples?
Oh yeah, some examples too. It's talking about Pulsar function. What do you use, some examples of using it for. You can like use it for filtering messages, or like counting the number of words, right, as it flows through the pipeline. And then also like large enterprise applications can be doing fraud detection type of continuous process. That would be good candidate to use Pulsar functions.
Yeah,
or
like the last one.
The last one, actually, I was kind of thinking, oh, what would be good? Actually, this is true too. There are some farms that probably have to look for their cows, in the field, and they put like little bells and with an IoT device, because the cows can run off, and then you need to look for them and things like that. So you can kind of constantly have the cow's location be monitored, so you don't lose your cow. You can find it. So
with a Pulsar function.
Yeah, Pulsar functions too. Yeah, that's right. So those are just examples. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, maybe you can show us something
sure.
in DataStax.
Sure.
Yeah, it's I will begin somehow. You can just sign in with GitHub. Yeah, what I said, I'm not. This is not a product pitch. I'm a developer, and yeah, I'm also using it. You get $25 for free, and yeah, you can just experiment with Pulsar if it's something for you or not, and you can connect it with Kafka, with your applications. What I did. So that's pretty interesting, and maybe you can tell something about multi-tenancy.
Sure, I just show it really quickly because I've been talking, and then you may be wondering, how can I actually set up something to play around with it? So as thank you, Cole, was talking about, you go to extra.datastax.com, you get $25 per month, no need for credit card too, which is nice. So for personal experimental project is enough too. So all you can do, you log on. I don't know if you can see, but over here, there's databases. If you want to play around with Cassandra, it's there too. And otherwise too, we're talking about streaming. You go to streaming, and then basically over here, you can then do a create tenant. That's just as quick as how you can create. You can create, I'm not going to create one now, but let's say tenant name called Devnexus or something, and Nexus, and then Google Cloud, and then a region, this is US East, and then that's it. It shows you how much it costs. So as you can see, it's very reasonable if you're doing some kind of not very high volume type of traffic for personal projects. Then you click on create tenant, and that's how you quickly can set up a stream. Essentially, that's your Pulsar tenant stream too.
You had also a good example about the departments, right?
Which
like
one?
a tenancy is one department, and you can create multiple departments.
Oh,
so, for example, in a bank, you can, for example, you have fraud, you have payments, and that kind of thing. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So the multi-tenancy, that's where this is nice, because then you can basically create, categorize and kind of, so to speak, segment off your different functional needs, right, of all of your messages and data. You can basically create different tenants, let's say for, different applications, and that will be an example. Or in a company, you can have like accounting department has its own tenant, and engineering has one, product has one, that type of stuff. So that's kind of nice in terms of like managing your data. So that's just a real quick, I'm not gonna create now. And okay, so let's say we already create one, then you might wonder, how do you start, right? So you can kind of click on that newly created tenant, as you can see. Actually, the first tab menu over here is basically how do you get started, and by the way, that's called Astra. That's our managed cloud at DataStax, and so it guides you to how you can create, right, your topic. how do you produce data, how do you consume data, all of these things. So you can play around. I encourage you to play around with it. It doesn't cost you anything. So over here too, you can basically connect, using the Pulsar native or using the Java or, well, this is mostly a Java conference. So I say, let's go into Java. Or if you're a Python developer, Golang and Node.js, as you can see, and Kafka, you can do that too. All of these, like RabbitMQ, JMS. So over here too, if you kind of scroll down, then you can take a look at code example, Maven, how do you write it, if you're using Maven or Gradle, how do you write a producer? Everything is all listed in here, consumer. So again, I won't step through it, but just give you an idea how you can do it. And also too, if you create a topic, is as simple as over here, you can then create, basically you create the namespace, and actually, why does it, okay, create a namespace, and then basically the namespace first. I thought I'd go into creating a topic, but anyway, so you can add a topic, that's right, of course.
Yeah, I will help you.
Sorry, okay.
I created already some, for the example, later on, I will show you an example about the function.
That's right.
It's very, very nice,
yeah,
and
that's right.
you have also your topics, like you have it in Kafka, and you also have it in Pulsar,
In
right?
Pulsar, that's right. Yeah, you can name it however way is needed for you. So so it's pretty easy, kind of for you to jumpstart your journey in Pulsar. Okay, good.
You also have functions, for example. We are going to create a function. You can see it like more like a Lambda, right? AWS Lambda. You just hook it up very quickly, and then it's done. It costs you almost nothing, I guess. So that's really nice, especially the cow example.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, yeah.
So that's pretty nice. So shall we show them an example of a function?
Function, or actually you have you have it already set up on your computer. So let's show it.
It's not rocket science or something. The only thing you need to do, I show the POM, like Mary already said, you have something, I'm using Maven, and the only thing you need to know is the Pulsar Functions API. You have a version, of course, and that's it. And then you're writing your own function, like it needs to implement function. And you have a process, and that's it. So I'm now only logging it. Of course, you can do more things. You can also do, sending messages to another topic and that kind of things. But you just upload it, and then it's here. And then if you hooked up, then you have some logging here, like, hey, I'm payment sent to system B. So you have also some logging there. So that's, it's really quick.
It's quick,
and cheap also. So
that's right.
and good for the environment, right?
That's right.
So
now the thing is, if you are more of a command line person, there is also Pulsar command line, CLI as well. So if you sometimes you like command line or you want to automate, it is available as well. So I want to point that out, but we aren't showing it here. So okay.
So Kafka Streams API.
Okay.
I love this.
Your turn.
This is my time. So. Let's. I will show you something. I will not live coding, otherwise I have no time left because we are talking really good. And Streams API is really great because you can just send a batch of message really fast. So, who of you does know the Java Streams API? Can I have a raise of hands? That's pretty a lot, 8%, I guess. In Kafka Streams you have the Kafka Streams API. And it's working a little bit the same, like you have a filter, you have a map, you have a flat map, and that kind of things. And we are going to use it also. In streams you're talking about a topology of streams. So you can have multiple streams. A stream can be like the payment system, or a fraud can be, case stream can be the payment stream, and that kind of thing. So you have different streams, nodes, and you can, for example, do all kind of things. You can peek it, for example. I'm working at a bank, what I said. So, we want to process payments. And we want to check if the balance is still enough. So, we print it. And you also need to create metrics. It's very important in a streaming environment. You need something to set up like micrometer. There are some people here, they actually work on it from Spring, so that's really nice. Create metrics, like we are also creating metrics in our presentation, by the way, to see what you like and what you don't like with QR codes. But we are joining a balance, like I'm sending a payment and I want to join the balances. So I want to check, do I have enough balance? So you're joining together. And then you can filter like, hey, the balance needs to be enough. And then, I will show it here. And you can also like map the values. I want to create an object called fraud. So, and we send it to fraud. So this is really powerful if you want to work with Streams API. You can just go functional. And that's what I like about the Streams API, that it's readable. Yeah, of course, yeah. It's subjective, of course. You need to make it clear also like we need to do. So, this is Streams in a nutshell, very quick, because we want to show you so much more. Let's continue.
Let's see. Okay. So now we get to the point in which we're saying the title of this talk, Best of Both Worlds. So how do we bridge the two together, right? Integrating Apache Pulsar and Apache Kafka. So, okay, so just wanted to introduce, again, I'm not trying to like make project pitches, so to speak, but these things too, you can use them, as is too. So there's in DataStax too, we have a Starlight API kind of library or framework that, so to speak, you can use. And in fact, it's kind of protocol level compatibility for Pulsar. So if you want to work with Kafka, you can use this Starlight API. As such, I'm highlighting in here too, that's because the talk is about with Kafka. So I'm highlighting Kafka. You can have Kafka apps. You can leave your Kafka apps as is and basically use this Starlight to kind of interface in with Pulsar too. So, so basically it describes here, right? You can kind of drop in replacement, right? For existing messaging and streaming platforms, this is the strength of your Starlight API. And so then if you have a team of folks that are not familiar yet with Pulsar, you don't need to worry about it right away. It's basically you keep your Kafka functionality there. And it's basically help you out too. It's actually quite, in this case too, is really save you time in that case. So, and then what else? And also over here too, I'm using this particular slide because as you can see, if you have JMS applications, you can also use the Starlight. We also have Starlight for JMS and also with RabbitMQ too. So these are the different way you can kind of interact, right?
So I can connect my Kafka application to Pulsar.
To Pulsar, yeah, that's right.
Nice, that's cool.
That's right, yeah, that's right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. So so then, as such, this is a kind of a short presentation. We couldn't get into all the details, but just want to wrap up, right? So Apache Pulsar. So just want to sum up, right? Pulsar is a cloud-native messaging event streaming platform. It's got built-in like multi-tenancy and geo-replication. Those are its strengths. And also the components are very scalable, horizontally scalable, and there's code data offloading the tiered message of tiered storage offload. And it's open source, best of all. And also the community is growing too. And in fact, the number of contributors and GitHub stars, all of these are rising as well. And again, it's open source based. And at DataStax too, we are leveraging on that platform and build out our Astra streaming platform too. So, but as such too, it's Pulsar, so there's no vendor lock-in, which is kind of nice. So, nice. If you want to save.
Kafka. I'm really grateful that I'm reusing the Kafka applications, and this is a large and mature community, of course. There's a lot of support. What I said, you have a lot of flavors. So Kafka is very grown up. We didn't say something, by the way, about sending messages like the default way. Like within Kafka, you have, for example, Kafka listen, the annotation, and then you can listen to messages. You have also Kafka template to send the messages from a default application. But in Pulsar, they also have something now like Pulsar listener. And they just had a talk about it. It was also very interesting. So like Kafka template, you can also have a Pulsar template, and you can just say the same, like Pulsar template.send, and then you're sending to Pulsar. And the same with listening to messages. You have an annotation with Pulsar listener. And shall we show? I won't show it.
Oh yeah, sure. Yes.
Let's just we have some time left, so we have the advanced. That was streaming. We have also a Kafka client. So I will go into the Project Explorer and leave it later on. What's handy? So we have a controller here, and that's just sending, for example, a payment. And we are going into the payment, and like you see here, you have a Kafka template. And you have the key is account, and the value is payment. And the only thing you need to do is like send a transaction. Yeah, you have some other code, like you need to create counters. If there's an exception, you need to create a counter. Like, hey, you need to, in a streaming environment, you want to know how many times things are failing. Like if things are failing 100 times, 100,000 times, you want to know it, and then you need to react on it to your product owner, and then say, hey, we should fix this because, yeah, we have 100,000 times an exception, and act on it. But yeah, it's just a Kafka template.send. But yeah, in Pulsar, it's like, you have a Pulsar template. I didn't implement it. Yeah. But it's almost the same, and it's pretty nice. And they have now a first version, right? Experimental version. So
that's right. Yeah.
And and then you just like do the same, like Pulsar template and send. But so that's I wanted to show something about that. So.
Okay.
So the takeaway.
So
take it away.
Key takeaways. Yeah. Okay. Just kind of summarizing, right? Again, we just want to highlight, right? If you're using Pulsar, the Pulsar functions, they're great in saving memory and the world, so to speak, but there's a serverless computing framework. So you write once, essentially deploy, and then let Pulsar manage everything for you. And over here with Kafka Streams, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I think the functions are really great. And I think also the Kafka Streams API is really great because, just like Java Streams API, you can just do your logic there. And it's more work than creating a function, but then you can have some logic in it, and that's pretty nice, I think, and it's more developer joy. I really love it if I can create a Streams application because it's very simple, and everybody can work with it almost, every Java programmer, because it looks like the Streams API. So I love that.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so here, just before we go, just sharing with you some resources from Apache Pulsar and Astra too, from DataStax. These are the different links. So if you get our copy of our slide deck, you have access to all of these links, and there are more too. Of course, you can search for them. But the highlight in there is that if you're interested in Starlight for Kafka, that's the link where you can find information for that. Yeah, okay. And then, this is then resources for
there's just like if you want to set up Kafka, there's an URL, a Zookeeper. You don't need to use Zookeeper, you can use Kraf, and a little bit promotion. If you want to know something about Kafka, you can also check that link.
That's right.
So,
so with that, we want to thank you very much, and this is how you can get to our slides. Again, the QR code for the slides and then for the code, as well as how you can stay in touch with us too. So that's Ko's Twitter handle, LinkedIn, and myself too has a bunch of things.
So please follow us on Twitter, I would say, and I hope we joined both worlds, right?
Yeah,
we did it?
Yeah, we did it. And also, we actually forgot to tell you, I also have my Twitch TV. I have a Twitch TV channel. So that's my plan is this is only our second time doing this talk, so bear with us. But we plan to have some session actually doing live coding on Twitch too. So please stay tuned, and if you'd like to follow me, the twitch.tv, MGRYGLES, and then you'll get notification. I normally like to do it on Wednesday, but then if I'm traveling, then it's harder, but otherwise too. So please stay tuned, and we promise we'll show you some code, more code there, more fun. So thank you so much again for coming to our talk.
Thank you very much. And if you have questions, just join us, or shall we ask? Are there any questions, maybe?
Questions. Yeah, I forgot. Yes.
Shout. Try to shout. Yeah. No, you can. The question was, do I need to use Spring? No, you don't need to use Spring. You can just also use for functions, for example. You can just use whatever you want, or for Quarkus, you can also use it. There's also mechanisms for it. So, no.
And also want to point out my colleague, committer of Apache Pulsar here, Christoph Bornet. He just did a talk with Chris Bono, right, with the VMware, the Pivotal. They did a sample on Pulsar client talking to Spring apps too. So so you can also do that too if you are interested in Pulsar client with Spring.
There was also a question there, thanks.
Okay.
Is it answering a little bit, or otherwise we need to discuss later on also? There was a question there, yeah. Try to shout.
Oh, Mirror Maker? Pulsar for Mirror Maker? That I'm not sure. I haven't, maybe Christoph, you have answer for Mirror Maker for Apache Pulsar, right? Does it work with Mirror Maker? Does it work with, does Pulsar work with Mirror Maker too? For Starlight. So for Kafka. So you can use
So yes.
Starlight. Oh yeah, you can, Christoph was saying you can try using the geo-replication feature of Pulsar. Yeah, and then yeah, instead of using a Mirror Maker. So, okay.
So are there, yeah,
Any
thanks.
question?
Thanks for helping.
Yeah, oh yes, yeah, you have a question.
So on Pulsar function, one of the slides, it said something to the effect that they only use memory when they're running, like that.
Oh yes.
And my question is that if you have a function that's doing some sort of like aggregation or like average, it seems like that would have to be always running by definition, or you're not going to be able to compute you're running average, for example. So does it depend on what you're doing, whether or not you can just run with the
Yeah, I think in that case, then yes, if it needs. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. The question is if there's this slide here that talk about Pulsar, function only takes memory when running. But sometimes do you have use cases in which you actually need to have the function keep running, right? You're doing some work and monitoring whatever. You can't just be sleeping. So that's the question. I believe that in that case, then yes, you will have to keep running, but I think it shouldn't, technically speaking, I mean, it depends on your usage too, how you write your code. And yeah, it's not necessarily, we're taking up a lot of memory too sometimes, right? It also, I would think it depends on the situation. Yeah, so yeah. But that's a good question too. So which means that you have to go into designing your apps and thinking of how you're going to be using memory. Maybe you need to be releasing things, when you're not using. So you have to somewhat like manage it yourself too. Take some responsibility as well, I think. That's what I think. So yeah. So yeah.
Thank you for the
Thank
question.
you for the question, though.
Also,
yeah. Yeah.
Are there any more questions, maybe?
That's right. Yeah.
No? Then we close it, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, we can close it, and you can, if you think of any questions, after you leave, and then you want to ask questions, we are always there. So follow us on Twitter, send us, my Discord server as well. So you can ask questions anytime. We welcome them. So yeah, thank you.
I have some.